Here we have a 49cc mini motor, and today I'm going to talk to you about how to remove the clutch. So the first thing you want to really do is take off the chain. There's two ways of doing this. You can either do it the way that I'm about to show you, or you can loosen these screws, loosen that, and then remove the whole chain all in one. But I'm going to show you a different way. So the first thing you want to do is remove all 4 screws. Once I've done that, I'll come back to you. Once you loosen all 4 chains, you'll see that the chain starts to become looser. So once you take off all the screws, let me just take these off because I just loosen them up. These screws safe as well, so you don't lose them. Okay. So once you take off all the screws, this should come off. And as you can tell, obviously now the chains come off, so you can just take that off there. It's kind of difficult with one hand, but just take it off, pull off the chain, take that off, take off the chain, just lift up the kickstand, and I'm going to take off the chain here, all the way up and round, and take off the chain. Put it wherever you want. I normally leave mine on here. And you want to check if this is any good. My one is a bit dirty. I might give mine a good clean before I put it back on, but this is quite a new one. So I've only had my mini motor for a couple of months now, so this is quite new. And then what you want to do is you'll be able to see the clutch by that time. As you can tell, you've got all your springs and your shirt and your outer bits and everything. So what you want to do is to replace the whole clutch, you want to remove this screw in the middle. Once you remove that screw, the whole screw comes out and then the clutch comes out. But what I done, being that my screw is damaged and it doesn't come out anymore, is I removed all 3 screws. I took off all the springs, removed all 3 screws, took every one of these side bits, and I replaced them with new ones with all the screws, and then I put new springs on. So that's all I done basically to replace my clutch. Because the inside bit at the back was basically still new, so never really needed to change all of it, luckily. So once you've done that, you can give all of this dirt inside here a good clean. I've done mine quite recently, so it's still clean. And then I'll just come back to you once I'm ready to show you the rest. Once you've done checking to make sure your springs are tight inside the clutch and making sure that everything's okay, there's another way of you can check if your clutch is okay by starting up the engine without this on and making sure that the springs open and close correctly when you accelerate. But don't accelerate too much, or else the springs may pop off, like what happened to my old clutch. I accelerated and then the springs popped off and broke. So just touch the accelerator a little bit to see if the springs open and close at the same time. And then all you want to do is put this back on top and close all the screws. So once I've closed all the screws, I'll come back to you. As you may have noticed, I haven't got no chain on here because there's a way of putting that back on once all of these screws are tightened. So I'll come back to you after. So once the screws are all tightened and this doesn't move, what you really want to do is make sure all these screws are tight. I can't stress that enough, because if these screws are not tight, as you're accelerating, this could come off and then your chain could come off and then you could fall off your bike and extremely hurt yourself. So I can't stress enough how much those screws should be as tight. What I do to tighten them, so I put the Scooby-Doo in there, I get the pliers, put it around there, and then I turn as hard as I can to make sure they're tight. And every time I've done that, I've never had a problem. So next thing I'm going to show you is how to put the chain on. What you want to do is you want to get the chain. As you can tell, I've got the chain here. You want to put it round, obviously, where you got it from. We'll put it round there where it was. And then you want to put that bit on top of there, around the front teeth. And then you want to bring it back, all the way back. Try and make sure it doesn't come off. This is kind of difficult with one hand, but try. You want to pull that bit back, and you want to put it on there. Oh my gosh. You want to put that on, and then once you get to this bit, once you get to the point where it doesn't go on anymore, obviously, because it's got to be tight. What you want to do is you want to pull the wheel backwards. You want to put it backwards, that way the chain pops back on. As you pull it back, you should see, you have to pull it back quite hard, but I'm doing this with one hand, so it's kind of difficult. As you pull it back, you should see that the chain pops back on. There we are. And the chain has now gone back on. As you can tell, the chain is on, nice and tight, not too tight, but perfectly as it was before. And that's how you replace the clutch. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe and comment.